I've done so many things wrong. I backed away when I should have stood strong. I quit at things were taking too long. And Lord, it's taking forever to write this song. I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. When mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn living. So listen up and take a step back. Real rap's a journey, not a one-way track. Find your own voice, don't just imitate. Cause the real ones rise and fakes ones fade. Bragging about the streets they roam. And sitting on the cold aluminum throne. While I'm spitting and vibing, they just moan. Claiming they're kings, but sitting alone. Got bars like a prison, but they can't break free. Spitting recycled lines, no originality. And here I am, bringing up clarity. While they babble on, lost in their parody. No need to set a trap with a limp in their wall. People saying that you ever can't even talk. Babbling lines, they think they're so fly. But I'm here to tell them to say goodbye. Babbling nonsense, trying to chase that fame. But I'm here to call it out, it's a damn shame. Claiming they're the next biggie in the game. But their rhymes are weak, just a flicker, no flame. You sound familiar, yeah, real vanilla. So similar, like some out of place gorilla in a small villa deep in Manila. Kin to Queen Camilla and her flotilla and all kinds of Furbies and chinchilla who drank too much tequila. And what's really killer is that the real filler is the real spiller. The real filler is the real filler of the real deal. All these channel nerds on this panel verse using battle words to tackle turds and slaying shit in bit non-bits, putting out hits on men with tits and chicks with dicks and LGBT misfits and don't know shit yet, professing truth like an effing sleuth in a private booth with a lion tooth trunk or removed like a damn fool. And just in case you haven't heard, I'm a true ogre that writes his own word, so don't cross the line, it isn't blurred. From first-hand experience I've learned when I hold the words back in my mind. It's just me trying to be kind, but no, man, I'm not so mine. Speaking is the right kind. Speaking vivid visions right from the start, with each word playing a certain part. A verbal picture that shows its own art, painted with passion, inspired by the heart. I'm telling you, break the chains with the truth. In a world full of babble and giving proof. So drop the act, let the real ones thrive. In this rap game, only the genuine survive. When things have become so problematic, I try to find solutions like an addict looking for a bump to keep up the habit. And the effect seems so damn automatic. This comes a personality or whatever you want to call it. I don't participate chasing the bag by trying to ball it. See, I'm a redneck with no money, if I pay I want it. So go ahead and keep hating on me like Jussie Smollett.
Everyone questioning my style, you must be kidding. The words that I am putting forth are hitting you in the right in the face, yet you are tripping. You're drunk on something and you ain't been sipping. Just step into the metaverse where the vibes can be cursed. Digital dreams, but sometimes it feels like a hearse. People lost in avatars, chasing likes in the cloud. But what's worse is the real world's fading now. We all have the freedom of speech be, but people always trying to bleep me. Is it because they can't keep me? Or is it because they can't beat me? Bring the simple truths that you can't destroy. All the patent things I've seen since I was a boy. The things that made me cry and brought me joy. The good and bad in my life I learned to employ. Taking from them the experience and leaving emotions behind. And so I learned to be true and no longer accept to be blind. Acting and performing in ways that others have defined, only to find out once again that I have them aligned. We're living in a world that's so filled with doubt. If you're caught in the game and toys seem to break out, I see you looking for the truth, but it's hard to scout. Thought you were awake, but finding you're lost in the clouds. They feed us the script, gotta learn to live without. Learn to question every lie and to flip the route. See the agents lurking in the dark corners all about. See I'm breaking free in my discernment, speaking out. Perception's a trick punch like a shadow in a bout. Chasing after dreams, others trying to drown them out. But I rise from the ashes and break free from that doubt. In this matrix of madness, you hear me scream out, breaking the chains and getting rid of all the doubt. That's what you have to do to find your way out. Drink the clean waters and let your vision sprout. In a world of deception, together we'll rise and shine. The matrix way twist what it's all about. Reality's not a screen, that's delusion. You can do it out, trapped in that illusion, and mostly seeing others pout, feeling like a pawn in a game where they set the route. Bet you didn't think I could wipe this rap. Bet you didn't bet I'm right in fact. So scream all you want and write in caps. All you really doing is fighting stacks. So remember I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. My mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy.
Days ago, and look who we have. Say hi to Dempsey. We've come to realize that it's a female with the dull coloring, and so therefore it is no longer Dempsey Sir Poops a Lot. It is Dempsey Madam Poops a Lot. So just once again, reminder, if you're a steward of life, you will have lifelong friends. God bless. Love y'all. Have a great day. Greetings, everybody.
You know what's nice to have in a boat? It's a working bilge pump.
Otto, sit.
Okay, greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. And, of course, all is appreciated. I do appreciate everybody stopping in. Please feel welcome to say hi in the chat. Chat amongst yourselves, bring up topics, and discuss things. As you see today, we're going to be talking about the moon landing and whether it really happened and stuff. And this is because I think I want to expand into different territory. Those that have known me on these platforms that I do, basically been all about the law and language and knowledge and stuff. And in that importance of knowledge, I've been doing this for 10 years on the law. So it's time to get into other territories. And so today we're going to do the moon landing. And to show appreciation for my viewers, please feel free to put in chat topics that you want me to get into as a matter of research, not as a matter of my personal opinion, because I'm not going to sit here and say that we didn't land on the moon. I'm not going to sit here and say that we did, because the preponderance of evidence seems to be adverse in its very evidence itself. So and that's what we're going to be discussing tonight as we do a video review on certain controversial information and how it came about, how it's being reviewed or put forth today. And so please feel free to open up topics that you're interested in. And again, the panel link is down there, should be pinned for anybody that wants to join the panel to get into actual discussions of this, so that it's not just my opinions and research, but your involvement. That's what I really appreciate. So again, hit the PayPal link if you want, hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Come join the panel. Any way of support is greatly appreciated. So let's get into it. Let's see here. This is, first let's get the channel here. It is Danny Jones Clips. Danny Jones Clips. And this is a 9-minute video on discussing Elon Musk proving that we didn't land on the moon. So again, this is not my opinion. This is just information that we're going to review. And in that, it's going to give us things to think about and do further research on. Because even if I did put out something that I believe in, I consistently tell everybody that views me, don't believe me. Don't believe the neighbor. Don't believe the government. And for crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research So you know. So this is what my channel is about, is actually doing the research as I show you sources and everything. So there you go, Danny Jones clips. Go check them out. And we're going to get into it with Elon Musk. Let me pull him up. Proves the Apollo 11 mission was a fraud. Okay. Now this is Danny Jones clips, and that's where this information is coming from. I don't know that you could actually say that Elon Musk said that the Apollo 11 was a fraud, but it certainly says that Elon Musk proves. So it's the point of who is saying it proves what. And that's why I'm saying don't believe me, because I'm not able to prove anything according to all the adverse perspectives and everything that are going on. There are so many things that we can get involved in these topics, and we're going to have such a subjective viewpoint from so many different perspectives that it's going to be hard to align anything with truth, except according to your own subjective reality. And that's why I say don't believe me, because my subjective reality is going to be different than yours. So I can't prove anything to anybody else but myself. And that is a firm belief. So let's get into it.
Elon was saying that he would need 9 fuel stops to get to the moon.
Correct. First, he said it's a.
We're talking about Elon was saying that he would need 9 fuel stops to get to the moon.
Correct. First, he said it's a historical and technological anomaly, meaning out of place according to logical progression of technology. Mm-hmm. And then he said with a taller rocket than the Saturn V, he's going to take at least minimum 8 fuel trips to go to the moon.
Can you find out where he said that, Steve?
Well, yeah, and then we're actually going to show a NASA scientist saying it may take even more than that.
Okay.
So first of all, let's listen to this clip. So basically, Kelly Smith misspoke, got in trouble. He said the technology to go through the radiation has not been invented yet. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space. They claim they looped around the equator through the belts. They're trying to make up for it now. So there it is right there.
Go to the headline. What does the headline say?
Yeah.
Elon Musk says it could take 8 Starship launches to fuel up a single moon trip.
And this is with a rocket that's slightly taller than the Saturn V. He's going to say it's going to take 8 of them. If you want to
zoom in, Steve, real quick. I also want to read the first part of this. Delivering astronauts to the moon is no easy feat, and it requires a disgusting amount of rocket fuel to pull it off. With its fuel tanks filled to the brim, NASA's Saturn V rockets weighed in 6.5 million pounds. During the Apollo missions almost half a century ago, it managed to burn up to 20 tons of rocket fuel every second. Fast forward several decades, and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk is trying to achieve similar.
And in context here, to me, it seems like the availability of fuel, rocket fuel, to get into Earth's orbit is a matter of escaping Earth's gravity. But once you're out there, then you could use small directional propulsional units to do the rest of the trip. However, it seems that they use a large portion. They state that they used a large portion in subjective stages of rocket propulsions to the moon. And that seems to me to be unnecessary. If you could use small propulsion units, you would only need the one rocket phase to get to the orbit, and then have the particular module with the lesser amount of fuel just for the jet directional propulsion to go through space, because there is no friction. But the problem I see in that is you have to use an oxygen supply, and I may be wrong, but it would seem that you would have to use an oxygen supply to burn up that fuel in a vacuum. Where are you going to get that oxygen supply except from inside the module? So I question things.
Similar greatness with the space company Starship rocket. This time, it's going to take a lot of refueling to get there. In fact, SpaceX competitor Blue Origin recently griped the SpaceX might need as many as 16 launches to get to the moon. Holy crap.
Right. So von Braun, and this is in my book, Moon Man, at my website, he said originally to go to the moon in one rocket is impossible. We're going to show a clip of that in just a second. And
we're going to discuss exactly that, John. That's part of what this video mentions. They're going to speak on it right here. Great point. Because like I said, this is in regards to information that was out at the beginning, and they're still discussing today. And if you remember the beginnings of our rocket program, it wasn't an American scientist. It was Werner von Braun, who was part of Operation Paperclip, who came from the Nazi German industry in trying to industrialize Germany. And in that, they needed a workforce. And that was part of World War II. See, World War II, Nazi Germany made a compact with Russia as far as the Bolshevik regime of overtaking Europe. And so Germany was going to take over a portion of Europe, and the Bolsheviks were going to take over part of it. Mainly Ukraine, where they first started out, which is where we're at again today. And remember, they did it because of the resources, the land resources that they needed. And that was the only purpose. It is never for the purpose of the people and the expansion of their knowledge and their progression. Never. In my opinion, my strong opinion.
minimum you could do would be 3 rockets, each weighing 800,000 tons, being taller than the Empire State Building. The Saturn V only weighed 2,500 tons instead of 800,000 tons times 3. So that's a difference of 32,000% times 3. Take a look.
And that's to break that Earth's orbit, which is Noah Michael says they can't break through the firmament. That's the gravity that they're talking about. They can't pull away from it unless they have 800,000 tons. So the math just doesn't seem to add up at times. Okay.
Look at this clip. Just like Kelly Smith misspoke and accidentally told the truth, the technology to go to the moon through the radiation belts has not been.
And again, I remind you, the link is pinned down there. Go ahead and feel free to jump up and talk about it up here. A lot easier to discuss it up here and get other points of view and a little bit more conversation on it if you come join the panel, please.
Invented yet. Here's an astronaut saying the best we can do with 50 years better technology is orbit the Earth, and we hope to go to the moon eventually. We'll take a listen.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go. And this new system that we're building is going to allow us to go beyond and hopefully take humans into the solar system to explore. So,
and that's saying right now. And so that leads people to believe that they've never done it before. And part of the discussion here is going to be that the technology used to reach to the moon has been destroyed, obliterated. And that's from an inside source. And they're going to say that every bit of it was destroyed, and that's false, because there are records of blueprints of these vessels that they supposedly used to get to the moon and do all this stuff. So they do still have blueprints and stuff, but the actual physical technology has been destroyed. The actual vehicle themselves have been destroyed. The blueprints still exist.
the moon, Mars, asteroids, there's a lot of destinations.
And to that, the fact that those blueprints still exist, a lot of people might say, well, they can just reconstruct it and do it again then. But again, as it relates to the 800,000 tons of fuel needed to get out into Earth's low Earth orbit is the efficiency aspect. If that's what it took back then, why would you have to go back and reform that technology to prove that it worked if you have better technology today that would cut the efficiency? It's not a progressive proponent to go back and use something that is so well known to be so inefficient that it wouldn't be worth trying. And that's the point we're at right now. We can't go back to the old technology because it's so inefficient. It's illogical to try to attempt it. Whereas the attempt at progressing through new technology is the better attempt for these very formulations of inefficiency.
That we could go to, and we're building these building block components in order to allow us to do that eventually.
Yeah, he just said they hope to go to the moon eventually. Now take a look at this clip from von Braun himself saying the largest rocket that you can build can only achieve Earth orbit, and that's exactly what Elon Musk said. It's going to take 8 trips. Take a listen.
Here to reveal a plan for a trip around the moon is the chief of the guided missile development at the United States Army's Redstone Arsenal, Dr.
And this is at the beginning, like I said, this is what they were saying to start out with. Because they had already done their calculations, they knew what it was going to take. And this, again, is the premier individual in rocket science, and he was not an American. He was brought over through Operation Paperclip.
Werner von Braun.
A voyage around the moon must be made in 2 phases. A rocket ship taking off from the Earth's surface will use almost all the fuel it can carry just to attain a speed great enough to balance the pull of gravity. Unpowered, it will then keep circling the Earth in an orbit outside of the atmosphere. This is the first phase. However, if we can refuel the ship in this orbit with fuel brought up by cargo rocket ships, it can set out on the second phase, the trip around the moon and back.
So each one of those 9.
Yeah, and that's another point to make too. If the technology to get to the moon doesn't exist yet, how is there supposedly tech on Mars right now? It's not that it doesn't exist yet. Again, it's the fact that supposedly we've been to the moon, and the technology used to get to the moon has been totally destroyed physically. There are still blueprints, but again, to go back to those blueprints and reconstruct them in that inefficient phase is why we're now trying to get to the moon again. Because as the previous portion of the video said, that we can't break Earth's low orbit at this point. It didn't include the factor that we have in the past because we went to the moon. What they're saying against through this is, in my interpretation anyway, is that they had the technology, they destroyed it because of inefficiency, and through the calculations we are now trying to recalculate through today's technology what that calculation would be, because we can't go on those calculations yesterday.
Rockets Elon's talking about would have to be full of fuel
in order to have enough fuel to leave Earth orbit and go to the moon.
But so just to make sure I'm following, the first one would be able to get with full of fuel, would be able to get into orbit.
That's it.
The next one would have to go, I'm assuming, would be able to go the same distance, fuel the one up in orbit.
At least 8 trips of fuel.
So after it fuels it up again, I guess it can hit the blasters and go even farther. But then you have to send another one up twice as far to fuel it up again, right?
And that's another intriguing aspect Noah Michael points out, is they called the president on a landline, for crying out loud, he says. And that's, a perfect point, because if they called him on a landline, where was the line from the moon to the thing? And this is one of those things that we also have to think about, is that we have to understand that these people are implementing technology that they have at that time that doesn't come out into the market until decades later. So at that time, they very well could have had cellular phone technology, wireless technology, and just didn't expose it. So it's an implication on the obverse there that because they didn't have landlines, and supposedly they did call, that there was some kind of maybe wireless technology at that time already. Much like the D.U.M.B, Nazi Germany's experiments as it relates to space travel, and the Bell. If you guys are familiar with that, maybe we'll talk about that sometime.
Well, then you need fuel to land on the moon and to leave the moon,
right,
which they didn't have. This is why NASA destroyed all the technology. It's one of the clips at Sobrel.com, a NASA engineer saying, we intentionally destroyed all of the moon landing technology. Now, if they were ever going to destroy technology, you might do that with the atomic bomb, right? We used...
And again, like I said, the implication that they destroyed all technology is limited in the fact that they just destroyed the physical machinery, because the blueprints for that technology do in fact still exist.
To end the war, but let's not do that again.
Sure.
And yet just 10 years later, atomic bombs are 1,000 times more powerful. You see, so if they really went to the moon, the last thing they would do would be to destroy all the technology.
Right.
They destroyed the technology. They destroyed the telemetry data where the rocket.
And again, this is why I say this isn't a matter of my opinion or anything. And I keep telling people, do your own research so you know, because as we're going through this, here's another point that I didn't think about before was Walter Limestone Banks says Von Braun was the first Superman for the TV slave's imagination. By the way, how do you know what's on Mars, Keith? You know, is it really these supposed satellites that are going through the universe, Hubble 1 and Hubble 2 and all that, or Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, Hubble, all these satellites that are supposedly floating around and giving us these pictures? How do we get that? If we've got that technology, then why haven't we supposedly gone beyond low Earth orbit? It makes me really question on these pictures that we get of this outer space universe. If we can't break the low Earth orbit, then it must be CGI. It must be. Right? Look at the thumbnail. It shows that the movie industry was involved in making certain sets, like the lunar landing. So it puts into question a lot of things. Who put the camera there to watch the first landing? You know, if that was the first step, mankind's first step on the moon, then who else got out first? Or did they have some kind of robot that had an extended arm? You know, like you see with the selfies. Did they have an extending arm that went out and said, okay, here we go? Another thing to point out, if you look at the shadows, shadow of the rocket, a little off from the shadow of the rocks. A lot of different things. And that's, again, why I'm telling you, don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Don't even believe what you see on here. Do your research so you know. And if there's a point that you can't know, don't profess. That's why I'm not professing that we landed on the moon or we didn't land on the moon. It's a question. Did we really land on the moon? Let's research it, see if we can come up with a real answer. Ain't nobody proved it yet. Ain't nobody misproved it yet. It's still adversarial.
It really was. They destroyed all of the original videotapes, which you would never do if you really went, but that's exactly what you would do if you were faking it. So that's actually incidental proof that they faked it as well. Now look at this.
And who specifically said that it was all destroyed?
That's a clip. If you want to go to Sabrel.com, Moonman video links, look for the one NASA admits they destroyed the technology. His name is Don Pettit.
And how much did it cost to put the...
In today's dollars, $250 billion.
$250 billion.
Yeah, so you can imagine, would Bill Gates spend $250 billion making the first AI? Hey, that worked great. And then throw the schematics, the blueprints, and the hardware in the furnace. You would never do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what they did with the moon technology, because you could prove, like we're proving now, it didn't have enough fuel to leave Earth orbit, doesn't have the radiation protection, it can't, have the lunar module combat 250 degrees outside with air conditioning on a bunch of car batteries. It didn't even have enough fuel to leave the lunar surface. It was only 2 aluminum foil thickness in the spacecraft. Would you even get into a spacecraft that was the thickness of 2 pieces of aluminum foil, where your elbow or your knee or your finger?
I thought it was an 1/8 of an inch.
Yeah, 1/8 of an inch, as thick as 2 pieces of aluminum foil. And like John mentioned earlier, if the moon's surface is 250 degrees, where was that comment here? I know you made one here. What was it? There we go. If the moon's surface temp is 250 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, imagine how hot they were in those suits. Imagine how hot that vessel must have been. Very thin. So, and then we have to think about the aspect that they say, in outer space, the temperature is minus so many. Really? If that's the case, then what about those extreme temperature changes in such a short period of time? Isn't that a stress on the physical materials themselves? I mean, that would myself put a very serious question in my mind as to how safe. It's like that sub that went down to the Titanic. There it's talking about pressures. In space, if you're talking about differences in temperature like that to such great extremes, those are changes in pressure, and those are extreme changes in pressure. So you would have to be able to allow for expansion and contraction and build something strong enough that wouldn't collapse in on itself, for damn sure, let alone any heat variances.
No, that's the shielding on the spacecraft, but they're talking about the lunar module itself. You're talking about the command module. The lunar module itself was only the thickness of 2 pieces of aluminum foil. Would anyone even get into that? Now, this clip below, it says NASA engineer, multiple fuel trips needed. Start that at 2855. This just came out. Okay. NASA, it's the one in the last email I sent you. It says modern NASA engineer, multiple fuel trips needed at 2855. Go ahead and take a listen for 1 full minute.
Really interesting. And then I started trying to understand the architecture to get there. Okay. I did not understand until this week when I really thought I was going to embarrass myself in front of you guys and then decided to further embarrass myself in front of you guys. I didn't realize that in order to get the human lander to the moon, we have to launch a bunch of additional rockets to tank up in low Earth orbit. I didn't know that. And I'm like, well, how many rockets do we have to do that with? And they're like, 6. And then I start, because I know people, I start calling people. I was like, dude, really, how many rockets is it? They're like, well, boil off. And okay, so I was like, some people were like, well, it's looking like 8. I was like, 8 rockets? We have to fire 8 rockets to fire 1 rocket to the moon? And then they're like, I mean, that's what they're saying, but it's probably more like 12. Really? And then I was like, I'm an engineer. I know how to do this stuff. So I started to account for like nominal schedule slip and boil off. And this is how many rockets it's going to take to fill up that thing to get it to the moon.
So you can pause there. So he said he did the math. It's going to take up to 24 rockets taller than the Saturn V to go to the moon. You see that? This is why they destroyed all the schematics, the blueprints, and everything in the attempt to cover up the fact that it's technologically impossible to go to the moon with the Saturn V rocket, which he just proved. That you saw the Saturn V was smaller than Elon Musk's rocket, and it's going to take 24 rockets taller than the Saturn V.
So the Earth has an atmosphere wherein it collects heat and dissipates it around the globe. The moon, in the spot where it's in the sunlight, it has no atmosphere, so it's an absorbing component, and it absorbs the heat. And that's why the surface area, without any atmosphere on the surface itself, is hot. As soon as you get away from that atmosphere, that's when the cold vacuum of space starts hitting. But the object itself, it's just like if you have a whiteboard and a blackboard and set them out in the sun. The whiteboard is going to be very cool. The blackboard is going to get hot. That's all it is. And when there's no atmosphere, it only collects the heat in the spot that heat is being projected on.
They have enough fuel to go to the moon. Are we convinced yet?
Standard commercial airplanes, we're using the same.
The next one coming up is the same guy. And this is NASA scientist explains why anti-gravity research is making no progress. And this is to question, like we saw the astronauts in the space vessel supposedly talking about, we have no technology to get us beyond low Earth orbit. So if we have no technology and it's not progressing, then why are they still putting money into it? Isn't that inefficient as well? So again, is it a theater? Is it just a theater? I don't know. Rocket fuel is made with hydrogen peroxide, which provides the oxygen. And that's to my question earlier, into a vacuum of space and having an explosive fuel. My question is, how much hydrogen peroxide would be needed in the stages of rocket that take it beyond low Earth orbit, as well as the directional rocket propulsion unit on the command module itself? There seems to be a ratio that would be out of alignment. It just doesn't seem to map up. No matter what you use in a vacuum, where is the explosive energy that is needed? So again, and I'm not fully educated on this. So this is why I want people up on panel and help me do my research on this stuff. My research in a lot of this stuff is going to be kind of limited. So appreciate it. Rocket fuel is made with hydrogen peroxide, which provides the oxygen. And Walter Limestone Bank says, well, then if that's the case, Keith, then why wouldn't a new moon be hot as you can't even see it? I guess I don't understand that question. Gravity is a theory. Of course, it's a theater. And yes, it's an inverse reality. Theatrically play for the gullible slaves in order to not know the reality of this creation and therefore look to the man for the answers. I agree totally. And this is why I constantly say, don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government, don't believe your mother. We keep believing in this fellow man and not knowing ourselves. It's a basic scriptural principle in this Christian society, know thyself. And I think people take it out of context. So let's get into this next one. NASA scientist explains why anti-gravity research is making no progress.
Commercial airplanes that we've been using since the 50s. It's amazing that we haven't been able to expound upon that and develop. It's like this technology is just stagnated. I mean, physics, there's a huge thing within physics, a string theory and all these things. No one can figure out physics. We're stuck. We have this large hadron collider and we haven't been able to figure anything out. And technology in general, it doesn't seem to be evolving in the way other technologies are evolving. Like AI, for example, like it's making giant leaps every single week and month. And then on the physical side of it, it's like nothing.
Yeah, that's been a concern. I've seen certainly YouTube videos about other physicists talking about this, and I suspect a lot of it has to do with the fact that we went through. I mean, if you look at the last century, you had two giant breakthroughs at about the same time. You had relativity in.
Excellent question. What does NASA mean in Hebrew? NASA meaning in Hebrew, and it says in Hebrew, there isn't a single word that directly translates to NASA as it has in quotes NASA in all caps, as it's an acronym for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. However, there are Hebrew words that sound similar and have various meanings. NASA apostrophe. This verb is frequently used in the Bible and can mean to lift, carry, bear, or take, or to forgive. In the context of lifting, it might be associated with the phrase of liftoff during rocket launches. In some cases, it can also refer to being lifted up or exalted, the ascension. NASA, with all the other little connotations on what the individual letter in its construction and sound is, phonetics. This word means to beguile or deceive. However, it requires a specific verb form, hyphal, to carry this meaning forward. And that's these little connotations above the letters. We've got another one. Another that says NASA apostrophe in all lowercase. This means to journey, travel, or go by vehicle. Okay. Great question. Hope that helps out.
1905 with general relativity following 7 years later or something, 5 years later. And so you've got that whole conceptual change. And at the same time, probably around 1925, you've got quantum mechanics coming in. So you've got these two huge paradigm shifts in physics that appeared. And quantum mechanics was such a big deal that it allowed you to calculate things and allowed you to figure out things that nobody's been able to figure out before. And you could figure out why this coffee cup is orange.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody was able to tell you why these molecules are reflecting orange light, but you can do that with quantum mechanics, right? So
and while we're on that real quick, before I got to go take a break here real quick, but that orange cup, when it comes to those with eyes to hear and eyes to see and ears to hear, this goes to the deception. In case you don't understand, when it comes to the quantum mathematics and everything, this light spectrum, all these frequencies that we see, we as humans only see about 0.0035% of what is visible in the light spectrum. So for those with eyes to see, you still only see, in reality, 0.0022% of that reality. And this goes same with hearing as its frequencies. And humans only hear about 0.35% of the sound frequencies. So the eyes to see and ears to hear are still very limited. And this is why I say, when you see things on this metaverse, understand that it's just the tip of the iceberg, as 10% above the surface of the water, that flat plane. And then on the front face of that iceberg, you only see 10% of the surface that's on top of the horizontal plane. So you've got 10% of 10%. That's 1%. Of that 1% you now have that you can actually see, you only comprehend about 10% of that. So you end up with 0.1% of reality in this metaverse. Of that 0.1%, you're only seeing 0.0022% and only hearing 0.0035%. Now take what you see in this metaverse and put it out as a bold statement that this is so. All you're doing is deceiving yourself then, by not recognizing the multiplicity of deceit that's out there by all these different people saying all these different things, and not one of them really have any shred of proof. No firsthand experience. So think about that. And I'll be right back. Go ahead and listen to this, and I'll be right back.
Physics went through this mindset change where to make a breakthrough, to make an advancement, all you had to do was to apply the mathematics of quantum mechanics to a problem. You didn't have to understand quantum mechanics. You just had to apply it to a problem and do the calculations to figure out what the results were. So it became this, and Richard Feynman called this the shut up and calculate paradigm, right? Okay. So stop worrying about what quantum mechanics is, just shut up and calculate, do the calculations and, figure something out. And that's basically what happened with physics. And so a lot of research in physics stopped, especially theoretical work, stopped trying to find a new paradigm, a new look for inconsistencies and find a new paradigm to come up with a new breakthrough, like on the order of quantum mechanics. And basically assumed that won't happen and just basically resorted to doing calculations. Let's throw all the math we can at the problem and see what comes out. And that's what string theory is. Let's just throw math at the problem. Let's not understand quantum mechanics better. Let's just, instead of their particles, let's make them strings and then do math. So I think that's been the mistake, is that we.
Absolutely. Taking theories, stringing them together, and then doing calculations with those theories. That's not real math. You can't do that. You have to have a logic to it. Now, granted, a lot of people think their theories have logic to them, and that may be so. But to turn around and believe that logic as a theory is true and correct, and now you can do calculations with it, is an absolute error. And resolutionary man, I don't know. There's no context to absolutely not. I was away, so I don't know what your comment's about. But if you want to expand upon it, please do so. Pressure requires containment. The astronaut has a contained space helmet on which wears the Earth's helmet. Has a contained space helmet on, but wears the Earth's helmet. Correct. And the Earth's helmet is a matter of density, in that it has not just the carbon forms, but it also has certain gases in various different forms, liquid and solid. We hear of solid gases, liquid gases, and we hear of plain gases. Now, gases are the ones that are dispersed so widely that there is no liquid form, like oxygen. However, we also have liquid oxygen. So it's a gas in a liquid form. That liquid oxygen can then be frozen. Okay. So it's something that doesn't have the carbon structure, but can be solidified like a carbon structure. Everything's by crystal. Even your gases are crystalline forms. Your liquids are crystalline forms. So it's a matter of like a Lego set and density, and how much you push those Lego sets together. And it's not like a perfect fit or anything. It's things that are meshed together. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but
we stopped valuing the conceptual aspects of physics. Why are the laws of physics the way that they are? And so some of the theoretical work that I've done is trying to go back to these conceptual ideas. Why are the laws of quantum mechanics?
And why do you think that's happened? Why do you think that? How did we get there? How did we get here?
I think it was just the shut up and calculate philosophy. You could do a lot by calculating. I mean, you could figure out superconductivity by just applying quantum mechanics and come up with superconductivity, which is a breakthrough. So it's a big deal. You can get a Nobel Prize by applying quantum mechanics without trying to understand it or trying to go further.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think that we stopped appreciating that real breakthroughs come from conceptual changes rather than just applying math.
Yeah.
You can't just throw math at a problem and expect to make a conceptual change.
And the people that you know that were...
And what he's saying there is, if you have a certain objectivity and you throw math equations at it, it's because you have that objective reality of that math itself that you can then equate to its nature. Whereas if you have a theory or something, you don't have a whole lot of things you can actually equate it to. So the mathematics has to be made up. You have to construct it as if though it is real to see if it can be real. And that's why they do all this experimentation. That's why they're trying to learn how to break low Earth orbit with new technology.
Working on this, trying to understand anti-gravity. What do you know, like what sort of sparked the flame for them to research this stuff? And if so, how far they were able to get before they got told to shut it down?
Yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know the details actually. Yeah.
It's just so interesting, this whole thing. I know a gentleman who Jeremy Riss, who has he's a kind of a self-taught, I think he's like a bachelor's in physics, but he has a lab, or he has had a few labs in Massachusetts that he's been working at, and he has a whole team of people that have been working on this stuff forever. And he's constantly talking to people in the field and trying to understand stuff. And then recently he had, like, I think the FBI came and like shut down his whole site, his whole lab. Wow. Trying to study this stuff because they're constantly like making videos of their experiments.
Imagine that. Somebody that is self-learning and autodidactic and is able to surpass what the government's technology is bringing forth, and they shut him down. Why do you suppose they would shut him down? So they could take over that math?
Doing and posting them on YouTube and doing live streams and stuff like that.
He's doing anti-grav work?
Yeah, he's trying to. Yeah, he's trying. He understands this stuff better than, I don't know if he understands it better than anyone, but he's explained it to me better than anyone I've ever talked to.
Which would imply that he knows it better than others. Why do you think they were listening to Werner von Braun? Because he was able to explain it to everybody better than anybody else. That's why they were so gullible. The explanation doesn't mean it's true. Just because they can explain it to you and you can comprehend it in that manner doesn't mean it's true. Again, this reflects that don't believe me, don't believe the neighbor, don't believe the government. For crying out loud, don't believe your mother. Do your research so you know. Because I can explain it to you folks, but I cannot comprehend it for you. So when you find somebody that explains it to you in a way you can comprehend it, just because that's the way it came about to you doesn't mean it's true. You still have to do your own research beyond that explanation.
And he's a historian on all of the people who have studied it in the past, and very, very interesting guy to talk to.
Oh, that is interesting. Wow.
Yeah. So when it comes to like military stuff, right? And you seem to believe that this stuff could not possibly be, just because of the fact that it's been going on for so long and the same things are happening now. It doesn't make sense. But we would have to have something close to it, right? Like if we have, with the amount of money that we're putting into military stuff and Defense Department stuff, and there's essentially trillions of dollars missing from the DoD's receipts. We should have something close to this that you would want to keep secret from the rest of the world. So it seems like there's probably a lot of different scenarios here that are happening.
And when it comes to that, keeping secrets from the rest of the world, again, in the context of the guy we just spoke about being autodidactic and going beyond what the government knows, why would you do that? The rest of the world, the people and their concepts are so much more important to explore, because there are a number of people. Let me explain something to you guys. People think about things and they think about novel ideas, and somehow they don't come to fruition. So the guy that thought about the engine and first invented it wasn't the first guy that thought about it. There were many people throughout the history of time that thought it would be great to fly. We have people like Leonardo da Vinci before the Wright brothers came about. They have different concepts of how to fly. The guy that made his own wings and jumped off this cliff and died, he had his own view of how you could fly by just creating wings like a bird. And we find that those contextual things don't necessarily always work. The math doesn't always add up. So this is why it's so important to explore all the different ideas that people have. In that, a conjunction of one or two or three or more ideas can come to a solution. This is why it's so important to come together for solutions.
It's probably, I would imagine it's possible. It's possible we have something close like this. If we do hear rumors of crash retrievals, and I've heard these from, we've heard some of these publicly, right? But I've heard private ones as well. And yeah, it's possible we did figure things out from crash retrievals if that was what's going on. Yeah, that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Or even just basic research on their own. It is possible that things were figured out, but it's hard to speculate about that. Right?
If you were, a lot of this stuff's speculation, but if you were to try to,
they're pretending, Walter Limestone Bank says they're pretending to break a so-called orbit with a morbid joke of shooting people's wad to the moon or any so-called solid light in the sky. Yeah, and see, that's, I like how you put that in there, solid light in the sky, because again, that's a refractal, a fractal and a refractal. See, the fractals of light go out, and when they bounce off an object, that's a refractal, giving us the appearance of a solid. Absolutely.
Come up with a theory on how these things maneuver and how they operate. Just guess, wild speculation. What would you go to?
And that's a tough one. I think about that a lot. And first, an acceleration of 10,000 Gs, nothing's going to survive that inside. So it can't be regular Newtonian motion like we imagine it. They're not moving the way we think they're moving. It's not.
And real quick, guys, just another reminder. This is my venture into other topics aside from the law and jurisdictions and stuff. And so if you guys have any preferences to topics you want covered that might entice you to come up and join the panel, please go ahead and make a comment in chat. I would greatly appreciate it. I always enjoy discussing this stuff, but sitting up here by myself gets kind of boring sometimes, and I end up having to cut streams down. So please, as I expand, help expand the platform by giving me suggestions of what you want to discuss. In light of bringing you up into this metaverse to show your viewpoints as a collective of people's views that need to be explored. So feel free to make a comment in the chat as to what you want the topic for in the future. Like I said, psychology. I've got one video I was watching earlier about Stalin and how that came about, and I briefly touched on it and implied it about how the Bolsheviks invaded Ukraine as it relates to Russia and the Ukrainian war today, and the resources that they're trying to control there for their own political power. It's history repeating itself, and if we don't learn from this, we're going to still continue doing the same math and not coming up with a solution.
Possible at those accelerations. So something else is happening. So are they? So the first go-to is using general relativity. So it's creating something.
Greetings, brother. How you doing tonight?
Greetings. Doing good. I figured I'd come up after you did that little thing about people coming up, because I think this is a great topic.
Yeah, I think it is too. And again, it's not my light to try to prove it or disprove it. My point here is the importance of doing your research so you can know. And when we get into things like this, what is the knowing? What was the information in the past? Are we going to repeat the same pattern of inefficiency of determining that we are not progressing in this release from low orbit, but yet we continue to spend all this tremendous amount of money on research while getting the people to believe that we have broken low Earth orbit with all these other satellites, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, Hubble and all that. What about that? You know, that's been long ago. They've been saying we got all these pictures showing evidence that what we're doing, and yet we have modern. This was just last year. People in a space vessel saying we haven't broken the equation for getting beyond low Earth orbit. That's kind of contradictory, don't you think? So who should we believe?
Right. Do you think that's an equation, or do you think that's just became an well, that is really weird, because it could be like an impossibility, because they keep saying do something and throw the math at it and throw the math at it and throw the math at it. But then now you just say, have they figured out the equation to get us past low Earth orbit? It's like, so there you're saying you got to throw the math at it. It's like you can strap some cardboard on your arms and flap them, but if the math's not there, you're not going to fly.
Correct.
You can't. So somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's what they're doing is they've already convinced the population that we have the technology and the equation to break low Earth orbit because we have Hubble, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, showing you evidence of these pictures of the universe. Is that so? Because if it is so, we have footage here of supposed astronauts saying that we have not broken that equation to get beyond low Earth orbit. Do you see the contradiction?
Well, this is going to be a hypothetical, right, Keith? Because when he was saying, I knew this guy who explained this to me better than anybody could, and the FBI came in and shut him down, it's like, what could the FBI bring to that dude in any kind of lawful manner that would claim, we now claim authority over you to do this? So whether or not they have the technology or they don't have it, or they don't want that guy to get it because he knows more than playing dumb.
Right. Well, and as we see, it's also a way of putting your thumb on something and holding it down, like the autodidactic guy that was doing his own research and was evidently more progressive about it than the government. And real quick here, Nadak says, hi, Wizard, just dropping my 2 cents. Entertaining globe concept stagnates one's cognition. I'm moving on and no longer revisiting these contrived narratives. Bless you. I hope you don't move on, because I want your I want what you want to do the research on. If you think this is a concept that stagnates one's cognition, then bring up your topic. Bring up your topic so we can research that. Okay, it doesn't have to be about moon landings and entertaining globe concepts, because this isn't even about the aspect of globe concept. This here is actually, I haven't even touched flat earth, globe earth, toilet earth, vaginal earth, whatever. I don't care. What I'm doing is research or informational knowledge to show a separation between believing others and knowing yourself, so that when you get into this concept of believing, you can shut your own mouth and be silent and only speak about what you know. My mom used to tell me, Keith, you always think you got to be right. No, Mom, I just don't like saying shit like everybody else and making myself sound like a fucking idiot. So again, it's a matter of knowing the truth and only expressing what is known. That's it.
What is nothing against Nate, but when he reads or writes contrived narratives, it's like that's like you got to put that definition of a contrived narrative, because it's like, what is a globe earth a contrived narrative? Is a flat earth contrived narrative? Is a vaginal earth a contrived narrative?
Well, when they start putting things out like we've gone to the moon, and then we have a couple people in a space vessel floating around in this no gravity situation, saying we don't have the technology to break low Earth orbit, then it shows a contradiction, an adversarial perspective. So is it a contrived narrative? Most certainly, it would seem like it, but again, it's, to me, it's not about contrived narratives. It's not about globe earth, flat earth. It's about doing the research so we can dispel things that just don't make sense. They just don't add up. The equation is based on theory and it doesn't fall through, because if it did, we would be beyond low Earth orbit, and we would know that Voyager 1, Voyager 2, Hubble, and all those others, the Tesla that went out into space, we would be able to. It's that. See, that's the contrived narrative. The Tesla, did that go out? Did that really go out into space? I think most of us see that as a contrived narrative. So where is the reality? Does anybody really know? And to his point again, you know, this is just a topic that I picked out to try to show that I'm willing to expand. I'm not going to sit here and get stagnant in it. Like I said, bring up your topics so we can discuss many things. And maybe in that we can start narrowing our vision to what is important to our cognition and isn't going to stagnate or distract us or separate from us. That's my whole point here, guys. Yes, it's about if a fool be fooled, let him be fooled. If you want to sit there and argue with a fool, then the first point you make is that you are the fool. Period.
Like a gravitational field and things falling in a gravitational field.
Sure.
So that's like a warp drive concept. So
this is like the thing Bob Lazar.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. You got anything else to say before we get back to it, brother?
Nope.
All right. We'll get back into it here. And we just got another minute or so left on this one. And we'll see what comes up after
where
this.
the reactor inside kind of like it's making this pocket of space around it.
Right.
Where basically if it's moving this way, it's doing the same. It's like bending the
you're
space
moving
around.
the space around it, and you're just moving
so
the space around
essentially
it, not
like
the object.
Essentially like doing that, but that way.
But that way.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one.
Yeah, and that's the thing I mentioned earlier about the explosive energy. There are different energies out there that we can explore, specifically implosive energy, where instead of firing away from something, you're actually being drawn into it. And they even call it a vacuum in space. So why not let this vacuum in space draw you? That's the kind of thing that comes relevant in my mind. That's what I question.
Solution that's the most obvious one. Another idea would be that it's using something like, in quantum tunneling, when you go from point A to point B without traveling in between, maybe this thing is using some kind of macroscopic quantum tunneling where it's just pop, 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 basically teleporting in some way. That's another possibility. Could there be other things happening? Possibly, yeah. It's hard to speculate without hard data.
And that's why it's so important to do your research, folks, because when we start getting into the chemistry and alchemical aspects and quantum string theories and all this, you really have to do your research so you can understand what's being said and contemplated and equated and theorized and all that. Without that, sitting there listening to somebody and thinking that they explained it to you perfectly and you don't know the first thing about it, again, that's why it's important not to believe anything, to do your actual own research. And if you can't do that research, then why would you possess the concept that you're right in saying that somebody else is right when you don't know?
Right. Because do you think that even when they're talking about the scientific method, right, there's a scientific method to go through. It's like, for some reason, I'm going to go back on contrived things. It's like, even within your mind within the scientific method, you trying to figure out how things actually work, there's still some kind of contrivance going on in your brain to try to even come up with that first, let's say, experiment or that first theory. I mean, in some way in your mind, you're still contriving, trying to figure this thing out to the next step. It's like you talking about the vacuum in space, but you can also say that would actually happen in the space, like within this realm. It's like if you watch NASCAR and they talk about drafting, there's a vacuum in between those cars. When that air comes off there, it sucks you right up there. It will suck you into it, just like you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, absolutely, because when we talk about this explosive energy, we have to understand that there is an opposing energy, is particularly in this material world where we're at, where we have this thing called gravity and density, and we have this friction. So now we already know that since we have this friction and this explosive power in that research, we find out that push that you're talking about, that's where they start building these wind foils on vehicles and stuff to help pick up on that, to make it more efficient. Absolutely. Resolutionary Man says heliocentric and globe ideas are BS and are meant to make people believe in man over creator. It is all a show. This is not Kansas, Toto. This is Oz. And he says Earth. Right. And I think that's because, like I explained earlier with the eyes to see and ears to hear, and this is kind of touching on the holographic theory. Are we real? Aren't we just light particles condensed so densely that we actually seem solidified? And to what solid degree is that? Is it gases? Is it a liquid? Is it a frozen? Is it carbon? How solid is it? Then he goes, then Walter Limestone Banks comes back and says that vacuum was derived to suck up all the shadow over the moon again and again until they fell fast asleep. They induced us into this restful comfort and convenience, thinking somebody else is going to do all the work and we don't have any responsibility. And again, that's what I'm pointing out here is we do have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to stop believing and learn how to stand up with our ideas and concepts, because they may in fact be better than anything that's come along so far. It's only because people can constantly think about these things and don't have the motivation to come forward that we end up listening to people like Werner von Braun, Wright brothers. Leonardo da Vinci drew all kinds of drawings about it, but it was never effectuated. So it's important for people with concepts and ideas to speak on them so they can be effectuated if they are, in fact, a better concept than the prior one.
Right,
that's why we have, that's why we have
Einstein to that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
But you can add Einstein to that. It's like that same kind of thing. It's like all of them people in that conceptual intelligence, or what position they were within, you know, the hierarchy or whatever, of claiming, you know, this is the way we want people to think, is can be it can be taken either way. That's why you always have to do your own research. Somebody can say, hey, that heliocentric way is just bogus to blind you. And it's like, okay, well, are you telling me that to get me not to look or to get me to shut up? How about if I look anyway and decide and think about it and still take other information in too? It's almost like a cult thing.
Well, and the next video I got is about the alien aspect. And like I said, this is from our view of looking out into space and the contemplation that we are trying to progress in our technology, though it is not progressing. Yet we believe in this alien technology. And like I mentioned before, you know, it's possible that 50 years ago when they went to the moon, however long ago, 60 years ago, 55, they had the technology back then for wireless communication. Okay. So maybe they have the technology today and they are in fact exploring that because they did have some kind of alien craft come into their possession. So let's take a look at the next one and explore even further as a outer perspective coming into us. What does that alien technology have? Where does it come from? Does it fit with the quantum mechanics and all this and our perception? What is it you're really perceiving? Is it being explained right? So let's take a look. And again, it's the same guy, and it's NASA physicist debunks theory that aliens are time travelers.
Yeah, what do you make of the time traveler theory?
None of these theories seem to work. That's really the problem. They
Why
don't seem to explain all. Well, time travel is hard because we don't have a theory of time traveling. So
we don't have a theory of time traveling, despite what you just mentioned earlier, Einstein. Didn't Einstein propose a theory of time travel? So now they're saying we don't have a theory of time travel because they have debunked Einstein. Is that what they're saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm the one that's misinterpreting it. Maybe I'm the one that didn't comprehend the explanation correct. I don't know. But that's why I'm willing to do my research and check it out.
So it's equally difficult, or maybe more so, than the whole warp drive problem, right? Or anti-gravity problem. So I'm not sure what to make of that.
Isn't the idea of time travel that you can't travel back farther than when the first time machine?
My apologies, folks. Don't know what happened here.
Ran into a singularity.
Yeah, according to general relativity. So if general relativity is the theory you're going to work from, that's basically what you're stuck with, right?
Right. So if we're seeing hypothetical time travelers right now, that means time travel has to exist. It has to be created at least right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, and that's also possible.
That could be the $20 trillion right there. But
that could be the $20 trillion.
That could be the $20 trillion. But then
when did that go missing? 1995.
But that doesn't explain the reports 150 years ago.
That doesn't explain that, right? But unless time travel was figured out on another planet.
And remember that, you know, we talk about the World Trade Centers or the Twin Towers, and building number 7 and the missing money. It happened before, folks. Money's gone up missing before. Large amounts the same. 20 trillion.
Another way, unless, so something like that could happen. So they could be extraterrestrial time travel.
Then you have to have both. That has to be extraterrestrial time travel.
Yeah, right? That's where these explanations they get messy because the data, what we know, really doesn't have a good explanation. And I think that we haven't come up with a with a simple explanation, yet that describes everything, and that's what makes it hard. But I think that's also why disclosure isn't easy, because all these questions are going to come up with disclosure, and I bet nobody has the answer.
Yeah.
You really have to study these things for a long time with a lot of people to get answers, and it's hard.
This one here is specifically from the King James Version. And as to look up, Walter Limestone Banks says again, look up the effigy on Von Braun's tombstone. Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament sheweth his handiwork. Had it inscribed on his tombstone, correct, Walter? And when it comes to Einstein and Werner von Braun, he was German and Einstein was Austrian. They were pretty much brothers at arms. So think about this as well. Again, folks, Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip.
How long ago was that whole New Jersey drone incident where we had all those drones?
Oh, it started in late October, I think.
Yeah,
and
that
went through about end of February-ish.
End of February, yeah, just this past year. This exact year we're in right now. It ended a few months ago.
And it wasn't just New Jersey. That was actually an interesting thing. And of course the FAA comes up with some statement they're testing drones or something, and that's nonsense, because they were seen off the coast of Oregon and Seattle too. Those were actually,
and Florida, I think.
And they were seen in about 17 countries.
Mm-hmm.
Really? It was global. It was global. Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Again,
so here it goes to that contrived narrative too, in the aspect of being global like this. Many witnesses outside of government entities, they say they saw the same thing, exact same thing, globally. So is it a contrived narrative, or is it a real objective perception in this light and sound realm of frequencies? Did it coagulate and come to a density where people could actually observe it, rather than the a holographic perception that you could disbelieve?
we don't have a good explanation for what happened.
Yeah.
How solid did it become? Is it solid yet?
And there was people trying to speculate it was like non-human, and but if it wasn't, they weren't traveling at any kind of crazy speeds. They weren't making maneuvers.
Some of the sightings in Seattle, off the coast of Seattle and Oregon, sounded like non-human craft, but those were more isolated. There was a lot more going on in New Jersey, but partly because it's more populated, and I think you've got a lot more misidentifications happening.
Yeah,
I remember seeing.
It makes Walter Limestone Banks coming again with a good one. A spinning globe makes for a great hamster wheel. Particularly consider Inner Earth.
Photographs of a craft, and my brother is very good with airplanes. I sent him this. I said, "What do you think this is?" He goes, "Oh, this is this kind of helicopter." And he sent me pictures of this helicopter, and it matches that helicopter. So there were a lot of misidentifications again.
Yeah,
and a lot of UFO enthusiasts would say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people missed that. Noah Michael coming in with, remember Hillary's resignation speech when she ran, something to the effect of, we still haven't broken through that glass ceiling. And I think a lot of people miss that, because that would be one of those things that constructs the contrived narrative that we were talking about. Absolutely. So it's important to pay attention in a lot of different forums as to what stories are being said and the little comments being made and how they correlate to other aspects of the lives of this contrived narrative of authoritarian control of some governmental body, exploring progressions for mankind when they're not. Absolutely not. They're not doing it for the progression of mankind. They're doing it for the progression of lining their wallets and pockets. In my opinion.
Well, it wasn't really a helicopter. It's disguising itself as a helicopter. And I was like, oh, please, at some point we have to.
It wouldn't be that hard.
Let's just calm down and
right.
actually collect data on these things so we can actually figure this out instead of just guessing all the time.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be that hard to send somebody up there to figure out what the hell they were. I mean, if we wanted to know what they were, somebody could have figured that out very easily.
Yeah, and actually, Ben Kukielski from our UAPX team, he's a pilot, and he actually performed some flights over New Jersey in that area to try to see if he could see these things from the air, and just weren't successful.
They weren't successful.
Yeah, he just didn't see any. That's all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw
They weren't that common, but they were common enough that people were seeing them. I mean, you've got several million people in the area, right?
Mhm.
And so several million people saw him, but when somebody else went to see him and they didn't see him, they said, no, they never appeared. They never showed up. And yet the guy here right here says,
actually figure this out instead of just guessing all the time.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be that hard to send somebody up there to figure out what the hell they were. I mean, if we wanted to know what they were, somebody could have figured that out very easily.
Yeah, and actually, Ben Kukielski from our UAPX team, he's a pilot, and he actually performed some flights over New Jersey in that area to try to see if he could see these things from the air.
And he didn't see them. Pay attention. The podcaster himself, what he says.
Just weren't successful.
They weren't successful.
Yeah, he just didn't see any. That's all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I saw.
They weren't that common.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw.
They weren't that common, but they were common enough.
He himself said, I saw some.
That people were seeing them. I mean, you've got several million people in the area, right?
Mhm.
So
yeah, and then there was a report that right field shut down their runways because of these things, and there was even one that crashed. I think we found something, Steve, I don't remember. We found like a photo of one that allegedly crashed, and it was like we tracked.
Okay, again, Laura, I'm not saying so everyone else is a liar. What I'm saying is, in order to avoid lies, we have to learn to stop believing in everything that's put before us and do our research. Because in my firm opinion, I stand very strongly on this, that people have become so willing to put up with little lies that their lives become dependent upon it. Their lives become dependent upon contrived narratives and things. And without their research into history, and without seeing how it repeats itself, they will continue themselves to repeat that same contrived narrative, whether it be true or not. So I'm not calling anybody liars, and I'm not saying everybody else lies or anything. I'm saying we need to start doing our research and stop believing shit.
Down the company, and it was a company based out of somewhere in the Northeast that was manufacturing drones that were powered by, oh fuck, I can't remember the name. It was some sort of chemical that was powering these drones. I want to say hydrogen, maybe.
Hey, Thunder Chicken, good to see you. The link's down there if you want to come up. I'd have no problem with it. In reference to the title of your broadcast, no. Did man land on the moon or not? No. Come on up and tell us. Come on up and tell us. Appreciate it.
Hydrogen powered drones, but like it showed like a police officer holding, like a couple police officers holding this thing. It was like the size, a quadcopter that was like the size of this table.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow. That's
like
amazing.
Maybe it had 6 propellers on it or something like that, but it looked like something, standard. It didn't look like anything crazy.
I think what was going on was more standard things were happening in New Jersey. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of air activity in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pointing outside as if we're still there. I live in New York, so it would be, for me, it's just over that way, but not from Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre. It's and
But that whole thing wasn't well studied.
There it is. NYPD recovers massive drone found abandoned. Click on that.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so it was the New York Post that posted on it. In the tri-state area. Scroll down. Police recovered that was the one we found for sure. Go up.
Under the 2-year-old boys.
Massive drone apparently abandoned in a Brooklyn Navy yard. Photo obtained by the Post shows NYPD officer holding up the unwieldy aircraft, the body of which appears to be more than 5 feet in diameter. Cops responded to the email tip alerting them to the presence of the drone, which they found on the sidewalk on 5th Street between Market Street and Morris Avenue.
Wow. So it was actually found in Brooklyn. That's crazy.
But there was, look at that thing. But remember we were looking at it. They were able to track down the name of the company that manufactured them.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the manufacturer.
Ammonia. Look. Officers were investigating passengers. Passersby said he worked in the building that houses headquarters of the drone's manufacturer, which he identified as P.I.G.S.C.U.N.T.S, Inc., a sustainable energy startup working using ammonia as a renewable fuel source, including aerial vehicles.
Now, that would be a progressive technology. Ammonia as a renewable fuel source. And like I said, when it comes to a lot of this stuff in reality, we have to understand about density and how it plays in part as to being solvents, explosive fuels, implosive fuels, things like this, and renewable fuels. They say water is a renewable fuel. Really? Well, all you got to do is combine oxygen and hydrogen. So how much oxygen and how much hydrogen do you have? Well, it depends on how many plants are living and how much oxygen they put out, because that's where you get oxygen. See, oxygen doesn't exist in outer space. Oxygen is something put off by a biological life form.
Oh, that's interesting.
You ever heard of that before? Anything like that before?
No, I haven't. Yeah, and that's something to be. I'm glad to learn this, because it's good. It's important to be aware of what's in the air if you're going to study what's in the air, right?
Yeah.
You have to learn about all these things. So, and I think especially around New Jersey, that was hard because there were.
And so you see how deep this thing gets when we talk about, did we get to the moon? You have to get into all kinds of details of the fuels used and modern technology and whether we're progressing or not. The fuels that they're trying to expand into. Like we just talked about, ammonia as a renewable fuel. We have to understand that it goes much deeper than just the rocket itself or man's dream of going into space and landing on the moon and finding another Earth-like planet 5 times larger than the Earth, so this population thing can be quelched, or environmental control can be quelched, you know, things like that. It really is, what is it? Does anybody really know if it's a contrived narrative or if it's a dream? There are distinctions that we have to make in order to live our life properly. We have to get rid of the beliefs. In my strong opinion, again, you can live in this world in all the belief that you want. But I urge you to go beyond that by not believing me, not believing the neighbor, not believing the government, not believing your mother, for crying out loud, and doing your research so you know. That way you can pass that on to your children and let them know whether you were there when they landed on the moon or not.
I'm sure once.
And what your perception of it was.
Once the reports of these, unknown objects were coming out, a lot of people, who own drones are like, now's a great time to go fly my drone.
They start sending up their
and
drones.
then they send up their drones, and the next thing you know, it's a mess. Right. So,
but I think the United States military had to have known what that was, or else there would have been some sort of like state of emergency, or they would have been getting rid of it. It couldn't have been a foreign actor. They wouldn't let it stay up for that long. Even like Trump was talking about it because they were flying over his golf course,
right?
And they were flying like over some sort of.
And that is a very good point. The military would have to know. I mean, they know about all the aliens, right? Right?
Military base in North Carolina, and they simply would not allow that to be there if it was something they didn't understand or weren't aware of.
I would hope so, but yeah.
And I think there was also some sort of
speculation. You have these things flying over Malmstrom Air Force Base, shutting down nuclear missiles, and no one did anything about it for decades.
Not those, though.
But not those things.
Yeah, those were something that were really unexplainable.
Right.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't believe Walt Disney either. Walt Disney was the guy that produced everything.
Standard commercial airplanes. We're using this
for Werner von Braun. That was in a Disney studio. Noah Michael says, one day I came to the realization that I knew everything I knew was a lie. I've been telling people, fuck you, you ain't my daddy all my life, because I knew they were lying to me. Bad Barney No Bullet, greetings, says you can only research what is written in the context of moon landing. There is no knowing if you did not walk on the moon. And that's my point. That's my point. Does it really matter? And to the guy's comment earlier about contrived narratives, is it really a contrived narrative? You don't know. You can believe what you want, whatever you want, and you can espouse whatever you want. But in that is your contrived narrative because you have not been to the moon. Extraterrestrial, again, Walter Limestone Banks, means outer lands. And that relates to that flat earth map and that ice wall, outer lands. And Captain Action Greetings says also Walt Disney was one of the first members of D.U.M.B. D.U.M.B. Tell us what D.U.M.B. is. And in the meantime, the following one. We are at the end of the stream. What do you got for us on the way out, brother? I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, I don't have too much other than when that person made that statement, I was thinking that somebody else had a quote like that. They were like, we'll know that our something deception is complete when everything people believe's a lie or something like that. I don't know who actually said it, but for some reason that came up into my mind.
Yep. And that's to Bad Barney's No Bullets point says, holy Keith, it does not matter when you cannot change it. Like flat earth and globe earth matters not. You can't change it. It doesn't matter if it's flat. It doesn't matter if it's globe. When you find that out, can you change it? Or is it just a matter of acceptance? So are you going to accept what is in your proverbial view? Or are you going to accept what goes beyond, whether it's real or not? And that's the accepting of that lie. And again, people, I urge you to come out of that lie by stop believing things. Don't believe me. Don't believe your neighbor. Don't believe your government. Don't believe your mother, for crying out loud. Do your research so you know. Captain Axie says, Young Men's Fraternity run by the Masonic Temple. And Walter Limestone Banks, it's nothing but clay in your brain. For God formed man of the dust of the ground. And of course, we're not dry. We're 70, 80% water somewhere in there, depending on your obesity range, if that's what you want to call it. Percentage body fat. And so that dirt from the ground, the dust from the ground was mixed with water. And when he breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, man became a living soul. That is organic. The dust of the ground is a carbon. You mix it with water, which has oxygen and hydrogen. And then once it is formed in the kiln and can now operate on the breath of life, oxygen, it becomes a living soul. Now, as to organic life, plants are made of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. That's that water and carbon mixed together. They don't need any extra oxygen other than the oxygen in the water, which also has hydrogen, to make it an organic compound. And again, this just goes to show the extent of the knowledge that you have to get into in order to contemplate this contrived narrative. But in doing that research, that's where you learn more about yourself and how you conduct yourselves and are part of this observable world. What is your nature in this? Chandrayaan took 2 pictures of Apollo 11 and Apollo 12 landing sites. I believe it. And Bad Barney says, and I'm proud of being made of dirt instead of Walter Brimstone and scorched by hells of fire. I don't know what that's about, but understand this isn't a drama channel, so please don't bring it. Stick to the topic. And in the meantime, guys, you know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That part is on you. So may God bless you and have a great night.
Oh Lord, I just done so many things wrong. I backed away when I should have stood strong. I quit at things were taking too long, and Lord, it's taking forever to write this song. I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. When mama had me, that damn doctor hit me, and now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy. So listen up and take a step back. Real rap's a journey, not a one-way track. Find your own voice, don't just imitate, cause the real ones rise and fakes ones fade. Bragging about the streets they roam, and sitting on the cold aluminum throne while I'm spitting and vibing, they just moan, claiming they're kings but sitting alone. Got bars like a prison, but they can't break free. Spitting recycle lines, no originality, and here I am bringing up clarity while they babble on, lost in their parody. No need to set a trap with a limp in their wall. People saying that you ever can't even talk. Babbling lies, they think they're so fly, but I'm here to tell them to say goodbye. Babbling nonsense, trying to chase that fame, but I'm here to call it out. It's a damn shame, claiming they're the next big E in the game, but their rhymes are weak, just a flicker, no flame. You sound familiar, yeah, real vanilla, so similar, like some out of place gorilla in a small villa deep in Manila. Kin to Queen Camilla and her flotilla, and all kinds of Furbies and chinchilla who drank too much tequila. And what's really killer is that the real filler is the real spiller. The real filler is the real filler of the real deal. All these channel nerds on this panel verse using battle words to tackle turds and slaying shit in bit non-bits, putting out hits on men with tits and chicks with dicks and LGBT misfits and don't know shit yet, professing truth like an effing sleuth in a private booth with a lying tooth, drunk or removed like a damn fool. And just in case you haven't heard, I'm a true ogre that writes his own word, so don't cross the line, it isn't blurred. From first-hand experience I've learned when I hold the words back in my mind. It's just me trying to be kind, but no, man, I'm not so mine. Speaking is the right kind. Speaking vivid visions right from the start, with each word playing a certain part. A verbal picture that shows its own art, painted with passion, inspired by the heart. I'm telling you, break the chains with the truth in a world full of babble ain't giving proof. So drop the act, let the real ones thrive. In this rap game, only the genuine survive. When things have become so problematic, I try to find solutions like an addict looking for a bump to keep up the habit, and the effects seem so damn automatic. This comes a personality or whatever you want to call it. I don't participate chasing the bag by trying to call it. See, I'm a redneck with no money in my damn wallet, so go ahead and keep hating on me like Jussie Smollett.
Everyone questioning my style, you must be kidding. The words that I am putting forth are hitting you in the right in the face, yet you are tripping. You're drunk on something and you ain't been sipping. Just step into the metaverse where the vibes can be cursed, digital dreams, but sometimes it feels like a hearse. People lost in avatars, chasing likes in the cloud, but what's worse is the real world's fading now. We all have the freedom of speech be, but people always trying to bleep me. Is it because they can't keep me, or is it because they can't? Beat me, bring the simple truths that you can't destroy. All the patent things I've seen since I was a boy. The things that made me cry and brought me joy. The good and bad in my life I learned to employ. Taking from them the experience and leaving emotions behind. And so I learned to be true and no longer accept to be blind. Acting and performing in ways that others have defined, only to find out once again that I have them aligned. We're living in a world that's so filled with doubt. If you're caught in the game, they don't seem to break out. I see you looking for the truth, but it's hard to scout. Thought you were awake, but finding you're lost in the clouds. They feed us the script gotta learn to live without. Learn to question every lie and to flip the route. See the ages lurking in the dark corners all about. See, I'm breaking free, hear my discernment speaking out. Perception's a trick punch like a shadow in a bout. Chasing after dreams, others trying to drown them out. But I rise from the ashes and break free from that doubt. In this matrix of madness, you hear me scream out, breaking the chains and getting rid of all the doubt. That's what you have to do to find your way out. Drink the clean waters and let your vision sprout. In a world of deception, together we'll rise and shine. The matrix way twist what it's all about. Reality's not a screen, that's delusion. You can do it out. Trapped in that illusion and mostly seeing others pout. Feeling like a pawn in a game where they set the route. Bet you didn't think I could wipe this rap. Bet you didn't bet I'm right in fact. So scream all you want and write in caps. All you really doing is fighting stacks. So remember I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. My mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy.
Days ago, and look who we have. Say hi to Dempsey. We've come to realize that it's a female with the dull coloring, and so therefore it is no longer Dempsey Sir Poops a Lot. It is Dempsey Madam Poops a Lot. So just once again, reminder, if you're a steward of life, you will have lifelong friends. God bless. Love y'all. Have a great day.